Awesome. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last general ACM-W meeting. So let me go ahead and pull
ACM-W meeting.
Moment. There we go. Okay. So let me pull up some slides real quick. One moment. There we go. All right. So welcome, everyone. Can everyone see my screen? I hope so. Okay. So this is our last meeting. So just going over some of the upcoming events. So really the last event we have is for the ACM Social, which is tomorrow. And I'm trying to, there we go. Yeah, so tomorrow's our last ACM Social. So there's probably a link in one of our channels for that on Slack. And then apart from that, there's also a Women Impact Tech virtual event happening June 8th through 12th. So there's a link for that if you all want to join. I discussed that last week, but I think they're still taking applications, so you can sign up for that. There's a lot of networking going on, so I definitely suggest to look into it a little bit more. And apart from that, I'll actually hand it over to Cisco now. So I have some awesome women from Cisco here, and we'll talk a little bit about their career trajectory. So let me go ahead and pass the torch here. 1 second.
Awesome. All right, Anna, hopefully you guys can see my desktop as well. Cool.
Yes.
So first and foremost, thank you guys for inviting us to the call. My name is Veronica Martinez, and I have been a part of the Cisco family for the past 20 years. I'm a UTSA alum from '99. Don't start calculating my age. And I am really excited to be here to really talk about Cisco, to introduce you to some really awesome speakers, and to really invite you to be part of this great endeavor that Anna and Cisco are trying to do in increasing the diversity and Latinas in technology. So let me jump into it. And I apologize that we were a little late on time. What I would really like to get out of this is to stop talking about 5 minutes before you guys stop listening. So let's, we're gonna wanna save some Q&A for the end. So continue using that little chat within your YouTube stream to plot down some questions for our speakers and whatnot. First and foremost, what we're going to talk about is Cisco. We're going to introduce some of our guest speakers that we have here, Alexandra Gomez and Elizabeth Alberto. So we are going to have a chock full of information, but we want to be here for you guys. First and foremost, I hope that you guys are staying safe, staying home, staying strong. This is a challenging time for all of us right now, but I think as the biggest human experiment of technology in the world that's happening right now, I'm excited that Cisco and all of our team are really, pushing the network today and providing lots of different abilities to working from home, not just for our organization, but for multiple organizations across the world. So for those of you that don't know about Cisco, I'm going to take like the first 10 minutes to give you a little bit of background. So Cisco began with a very basic things that we all understand today, and that's the need for connection. Who would have known that back in the early 80s, and this is there was a married couple that was working and living at Stanford University, and this married couple they were professors on campus and in 2 different computer buildings. They worked in the computer facilities, and in 2 different computer buildings, they could not connect. So what they did is using the Stanford technology, they connected one computer from one office building to another computer in another office building. Fast forward, this became what we know as routing technology, and this became what we know today as the network. It also became what we know of as Cisco. So if this picture doesn't look familiar to you guys, if you've ever been to San Francisco, this is the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge has been a part of our logo since the early 80s. It has gone through many transitions, our Cisco logo, from something very basic, but as you can see, we have never lost the culture of bridge, of being the bridge. And what's really nice is that, you know, in working for Cisco for so many years, our culture hasn't changed. And just like many bridges, Cisco, our promise to the world is to make sure that we secure connection between people, places, ideas, and things. What that basically means to all of you guys here on the call, which you guys are all remarkable ladies going into the IT industry. 80% of the world's internet traffic right now is running over that routing technology that Cisco calls our Cisco Connections. But routing is not just the only technology that we believe is going to connect the world together. We believe that at our core, we invest and we develop the routing, the wireless, the switching technology, the network, but we also play and are innovative inside of other areas of importance, like collaboration, which is like this video telepresence areas, Internet of Things, plane and driving multi-cloud initiatives. We don't do anything if it's not in a secure, if it doesn't have all of the security protocols. Security is one of the basis of our organizations. And as you guys all know, UTSA is probably one of the leading cybersecurity universities in the world. I don't have to tell you that, but you know, cybersecurity is an incredibly important piece of our Cisco architecture. The customer being the center, we call this our customer experience, and most importantly here, the platform that we're using today with WebEx software. You know, WebEx has been in an incredibly amazing usage increase over the past, in just the month of March. We had world record attendance of over 324 million people connected and using over 14 billion minutes in WebEx. So this platform that we develop and we invest in is definitely an incredible way for us to maintain connection throughout. We have offices in various countries. We've got more than 70,000 employees. And 3 of the employees that you're talking here today, we are just, we're part of the Cisco organization. We're not recruiters though, so don't get us wrong. Like we're not going out to career fairs. Anna invited us onto this call because what we really want to do is, we're not going to go into a lot of technology talk, but we did want to talk about our career trajectory, right? How did we get here? What did we do? What's best practices? What kind of advice would you give us? So without further ado, what I would really love is for you guys to know a little bit about the speakers that we brought in today, Alexandra Gomez and Elizabeth Alberto, and give them a chance to kind of just talk through, you know, how they got involved with Cisco, what they love about Cisco, and different learnings that they want for your community to hear about. Make sense? Go for it, Alex.
Okay, can you guys hear me all right? Yeah, okay. Hi everyone, I'm Alexandra Gomez. As the slide mentions, I've been at Cisco for about 3 years now, and my role there is within business analysis, specifically within the Cisco IT organization. And what I do, what that all means, I work a lot with Excel and data visualization tools like Tableau, and I use all of those tools and work to give presentations to senior leaders so that they can understand a little more about the people who work for them. I first started my journey with Cisco through the Grace Hopper Conference. Actually, at my university, the University of Arizona, I was studying management information systems, and I ended up winning a scholarship to Grace Hopper. And from Grace Hopper, a couple of steps happened along the way, but I ended up getting an interview and then getting hired on the spot. So I've been with Cisco ever since, and it's been one of the best experiences that I've had so far. So with that, I'll hand it over to Elizabeth.
Hi, sorry about the background noise if you can hear the sirens, but can you hear me? Yeah, okay, cool. So my name is Elizabeth Alberto, and so far I've been 1 year at Cisco, recently celebrated that. I'm part of the Cloud9 team as a software engineer, which the team provides hardening and auditing tools that are based on the Center for Internet Security benchmarks for Linux OS distributions and other open source components. What I really like about the team is like the teamwork. Everybody there, it's like you can ask anyone any questions and no fear about like anything being off limits or anything along those lines. How I started in Cisco was through my college career fair. NC State has like this huge career fair where like a bunch of other people from different schools come here, and Cisco was one of the companies that was there. And so I decided to apply, and I got an interview the next day, and I was able to interview with who ended up being my manager. So that was great. And I went through the internship that summer. I really enjoyed it. I like working with the different distributions, the languages that I was just exploring. And so when I graduated, I decided to come back as a full-time employee. And so far it's been really great. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Veronica.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, so Liz brings up a really good point about working at Cisco and now working in these times. Teamwork is a critical part of what we do every day. You can see I'm working from home. Liz is outside and enjoying the awesomeness, but then you hear a big ambulance that flies by. We're all adjusting to this new work from home environment, and I don't think, guys, that that's going to change. Let me just break it down for you real quick. The world as we know it of going into the office may look differently after we come out of this. Whether working from home is something that provides you flexibility. We're seeing a lot of that with our customers and our constituents. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. I graduated from UTSA and got my first job at this video technology company called Tandberg. Little did I know then that video technology was something of a I'll call it an emerging kind of technology. It was in 2010 when my company was bought by Cisco. So I wasn't recruited directly from a conference or through an internship program. The reality is that, and all of us know, being in the technology industry, even if you're with a small startup technology industry, you never know who may acquire you in the future. Through the Cisco acquisition in 2010, I began working on the Cisco side. I was in and I managed a team out of Latin America. So I had the Latin America experience, and today I transferred that leadership experience into what I'm doing today in working for the US public sector team. So my constituents and what I do every day is making sure that educators, that cities and states that need to digitally transform the way that they talk to their students, talk to their teachers, and talk to their constituents can happen using Cisco technology. What I really want to hone in on with you guys today, and I congratulate all of you for really pursuing a second, your education, pursuing your degree. That is what I consider something that would make you stand out, right? And one of my three characters here that I think is really important to bring to the table is you're going to stand out. Name it with your degree, name it with your certifications. Cisco's got tons of certifications that we do and that we have for our engineers. Standing out is an incredibly important piece of what you bring to the table. Don't forget that. But in my also opinion, my learning here is I wouldn't have gone from being a part of a Latin America market to now being part of a US public sector if I didn't stay curious about how to continuously reinvent myself. So when it comes to the, and I'm born and raised in Grand Prairie, Texas. So I want to get out of Texas. I lived in Florida. I lived in Peru. I lived in Mexico. Unless it was a part of me that wanted to be curious about knowing and understanding these new markets and industries. And it's important for you guys to continuously speak up when we are challenged to do something new. And I know how it is. How many of us, we're all susceptible to this. How many of us are in our classes and the professor asks you a question and you don't raise your hand, even though you know the answer, but you don't raise your hand, right? It could be a cultural thing. It could be a security thing. What I can tell you right now is there is no time for us to do that anymore. This is our moment to start to speak up, to stand out, and most importantly, to stay connected. And I don't mean stay connected to your TikTok or, do your Snapchat. I'm talking about staying connected to the people that are going to be influencing how you are going to bring yourself into this industry, whatever industry that may be. Today, we're talking about being part of the tech industry. We are true believers. Everybody on this panel are true believers that the tech industry is the best industry in the world to be in. The tech industry also needs you in this industry because we need more diversity within our community. I'm tired of being the only Latina in my group, to be completely transparent. I'm tired of being the only woman in a room of 16 men when we go into meetings. But believe me, I stand out, I speak up, and I'm truly excited to stay connected with you guys. So with that being said, and we are at 1:25. I've got about 5 more minutes. I wanted to leave some areas so that we can, communicate. This is your time to speak up. But I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Cisco and how you can stay connected. There's plenty of areas within our community to go to cisco.com/university. Tons of areas for you to see what new opportunities are out there for you. But I also want to hone in right now on an area that we are now creating for our diversity candidates, our candidates that are early in career, our freshmen, sophomore, juniors in college. This is a program, it's a summer program that allows you guys to get matched up to a Cisco mentor. We're going to leave all of this information for Anna so that she can make sure to get you guys plugged in. This is an application that all of you can be a part of. This obviously is just one piece of the many pieces that you can do to stay connected to organizations like Cisco. We're here talking as Anna mentioned about our career, but don't forget that there's something else that is really pressing on your heart, that you really want to know more about, what we do in security or what we do in multi-cloud. Don't forget that you have the opportunity next year to make sure that you bring this up to Anna and her team so that we can come back and do more of these info sessions for you and your organization. But get plugged in, right? This is your opportunity here to get plugged in through this application process. At the same time, whether you are accepted or not accepted, it's important to get plugged in because now Cisco has you in their system, which is what you want to have, right? So that's an incredibly important part of making sure that this happens for you guys and to stay connected to this team and everybody else that's here rooting for you. I can tell you one thing that I'm incredibly proud about. Never in the history for the last decade, I would say, have we had more Latinos graduating from university. Okay, let me repeat that. Over the last decade, there has never been more Latinos that we have in history. There has never been more Latinos that have graduated from college. So you're a part of an elite class. Now, at the same time, there's still not enough of us, right? There's still not enough of us. So that's why I'm here begging on the part of the tech industry, get into tech. More Latinas in tech are super necessary. More women in tech are super necessary, and you would bring an incredible piece of contribution to this industry in my field, in this field. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and say, thank you and gracias to everybody that's here on the call. I would love to see if there's any specific questions for our panel, how they got involved, or any other things that you guys want to ask, you know, for our panel, I would leave that open to Anna to facilitate.
Yeah, so let's look through one moment through the YouTube chat to see if we have any questions. So if anyone has any questions or any comments, definitely chat them. You can send them through the chat on YouTube. But in the meantime, I actually have some questions for you all, right? So I wanted to know a little bit more about maybe what it was like being a woman during your university trajectory, right? So maybe Alex and Liz could answer that a little bit more. What was it like being a girl in your major, right? I don't know, especially like in computer science here at UTSA, there's not as many of us. So, and then there's also like a lot of different experiences that we all have. So I just want to hear a little bit more about that, whoever wants to start off.
I can start us off. So as I mentioned before, I studied MIS, Management Information Systems, in the University of Arizona's business school. So the way it starts off, funny enough, you start with these big classes of like mix of, you know, pretty fair ratio of women to men. And as you start going forward in your college career, the classes start specializing. So you start breaking off into MIS, others start breaking off into accounting, etc. And after that, like first initial year of seeing, you know, a pretty good ratio, it really just cut down significantly. And maybe there were 5 other women in a classroom of like 60. And it was just a, you know, it was an initial shock. But also I think a pretty good representation of how it is actually in the industry and from what I've seen. So I think in a way it was good to see that because it's preparing me for what lied ahead, but also just made me feel better about what I'm doing because as Veronica mentioned, there's not a lot of Latinas out there, but when we are there, we have to make sure we're heard and that we're, you know, happy and proud to be where we're at.
Awesome. And what about you, Liz? What was your experience like?
So I had a similar experience where like in the first few classes of computer science, it's like 400, 500 people and just it mixed in between there. I think the toughest thing for me starting out was that I'd come from like kind of like a more rural high school. So I took one class, Visual Basic, for coding. And that was pretty much it, but it was like very, very basic. And so when I went in, I remember the professor had asked, like, who here has like coding experience? And then like a lot of people raise their hands. And it's like since like we started going, you know, like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and like some people were like coding since middle school, and I'm out here with like my one class of Visual Basic. So that was pretty intimidating. So I would say that was like the hardest thing for me starting off because it was super intimidating. Like, what if I get left behind? What if like, you know, I get stuck and the rest of the class like moves on? You definitely get more comfortable with that as you know, you continue in your school. But in reference to the ratio, I would say that there weren't. I don't remember having that many girls in our classes, even like the big ones, and I don't recall having very many like Latinas or Latinos or in the classroom either. So yeah, that was surprising. But yeah, that was my experience.
And let me add a little bit of color here, Anna, and maybe challenge a little bit of your team, right? The reality is, and it's no surprise, there are 4 or 5 women or Latinas in your classes, right? But it's also our responsibility to talk to more Latinos about being in technology. So if that's ever going to change, it's It's going to take everybody here on this call, everybody within all of the ACM organization, to go to their primo and say, hey, have you ever thought about, going into technology? Do you know how much cybersecurity engineers are getting these days? Hello. And so I don't think that what I would say is it's not going to change until we all take an intention about it. And this is our first step, right? This is with the partnership that we have with UTSA. This is our first step to do that. Internships come available when you're plugged in to the internships, whether it's Cisco internships, doing it paid or even unpaid. Let's be honest. There's a lot of graduates that are graduating today, and then how many people are going unemployed today, right? You want to be able to stand out. You want to be able to look different and show up different. But if there's an opportunity to do an internship, for money or for free, at least you'll have and you'll bring that experience as a differentiator. And Cisco does internships. Our partners do internships. That's why it's important to get plugged into that campus career link that I mentioned before.
Yeah, I agree. And to touch on that, Liz, you said you were at North Carolina State, right? Did you also grow up in North Carolina by any chance?
Yeah, yes, I did. I grew up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and NC State is in Raleigh, so it's like 2 hours away. So it's more like Raleigh. It's more like the city, more city.
Yeah. So I have an uncle there, so I understand that the Latino population. I know what that looks like a little bit, because my uncle also lives in a rural town in North Carolina. So I can imagine not exactly how that experience is, right? Because in Texas, at least in San Antonio, there's definitely a lot more Hispanic people here. But wow, just the thought of being somewhere like in the town that my uncle lives in and then going off to college there, I don't know. I feel like it would be so much more different. And I totally understand the imposter syndrome as well. There's so many students who start like in middle school, and then you start in college and you're kind of nervous. You don't know if maybe you'll actually be able to keep up. So those insecurities, right? Trying to work through those. And I think at least with ACM-W, we really try to instill that sense of that self-esteem, right? That you don't have to doubt yourself, at least in this field, right? So to move on to one of the questions from the chat. So Nikki is asking, do you guys still take interns? And then she also added, does Cisco take international students for internships? So I don't know if anyone can answer that.
I believe a lot of our Cisco internships are based on U.S. citizenship, but at the same time, because I'm not part of like recruiting, let's remember, right? I mean, I don't like saying something if I don't know all of the direct information. When you go to cisco.com/university, the internships or the available openings are internationally based. Remember, we are an international company. So let's say like for the summer, you wanted to work in Belgium, and this I mentioned because I'm trying to send my son to Europe. Not right now, but eventually, if I wanted to, there's a Belgium internship that's happening in the during the summertime where they have like these different technical openings. Going to that website, getting plugged into that website, you're going to see a plenitude list of things that are available that are Cisco led. Now, if you are an international student, because I know there's tons of international students in San Antonio, if Cisco isn't hiring, I promise you that our Cisco partners, we've got technology partners throughout the entire nation. Our technology partners open up internships programs during the summer as well. What's the action behind that? We want you guys to get plugged in, right? Continue to get connected to the campus career link, being matched up and whatnot, because I would say that independent of your background, there's going to be opportunities for you. It's just a matter of how you can get connected and stand out within those opportunities. Awesome.
Thanks for those pointers, Veronica. And then I had Jessica send a chat here saying, in my research of Cisco, I noticed an extensive library of courses and certifications, which is awesome. However, I noticed a lot of them had a big price tag for a college student. And I think during our last meeting, right, last week when we touched base, didn't you have some resources for some of those free like courses or such from Cisco?
I did. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. But yes, so there are tons of courses to take in multiple tracks in the Cisco Networking Academy. I think starting off in tracks, basic tracks of like intro to cybersecurity, intro to Internet of Things. There are still things available. I made my son go through the cybersecurity introduction because I wanted him to get a certificate of completion for that, which goes a long way to standing out, right? So let me make sure to send that over to you, Anna, so that at least on a free level, there's still some access that you get to those courses.
And just to add on to that real quick, so as an employee of Cisco, like the learning doesn't stop. That's also something I really like about working here is that my management, my managers, supervisors, they all encourage me to take trainings every quarter or more often, and they cover that for us. So if I wanted to go learn more about networking, I've taken a Python course in the past and I'm not technical, so they have so many different varieties of what you can learn to, improve on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And it's really nice to have those opportunities. So the learning doesn't stop from the Network Academy. It keeps going through the career at Cisco.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that where, like you mentioned, your team really wants you to succeed and they want you to, keep up to date, keep learning. And I got the opportunity to actually go to Colorado for one of the SANS Cloud DevOps Security Summit. So that was pretty cool. I never would have imagined that. So I would say that was awesome that, they definitely push you to continue your education, be it through like summits or like, courses that Cisco might offer through the like learning and development and like just other items. They definitely push for that.
And I think those are the free online tech courses, right, that you have up, Veronica. So those resources.
And I'll send you this so that you can send it to your team. But this is just a quick example. If it's networking, if it's cybersecurity, if it's Internet of Things, if it's programming, there's tons of resources out there that are free, and that's the best price that I like, right? I would say don't discount that if you have this, it allows you to stand out. And then, of course, as you get more ingrained in your career or with your company or with Cisco, don't forget that there's also more ways of learning and improving on that certification as you go.
I would say, I think a nice thing about bigger companies or like international acclaimed companies, right? There's always new opportunities, which Veronica has given some examples of that, right? Even being able to work outside of the country or being able to attend summits like Liz has. That's awesome. And then Jessica also had another question. Are there any resources for students or veterans to be able to take these courses? So I assume yes, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Our veteran, we have somebody within the NetAcad community that specifically reaches out to veterans. So yes, absolutely, and we can get more information on. They're still similar to the same kind of coursework that we're talking about here, but veterans have additional benefits of maybe even connecting to more organizations, more companies, because more companies are looking to hire veterans as well.
And then touching back on the interview aspect with Cisco, I know Nikki had been trying to search for internships, and one of her concerns was maybe like the technical interview part. I don't know if Alex or Liz, you have any experience with technical interviewing and any pointers you might have?
So I'll speak first if that's cool. So whenever you're like applying for internships, I would definitely say be ready for both, not just technical interviews. I got caught on that for the first time. The first time I was interviewing, I was, like I prepped for it. I like went over like Java, C, everything they would ask me. And then I got there and they're all behavioral questions. And then, I mean, it's not like too difficult to answer the behavioral questions, but it's difficult in the moment where you're really nervous, you're like sweating bullets to get like your thoughts all together to answer it in a concise manner. And I like stumble through it. So I would definitely say prep for both, be ready for both. Because they might ask you like for the first round, they might ask you like behavioral, or they might even go technical. I had that for my first internship actually. I applied, I got a call the next day, and I had prepped for behavioral because that's what I thought, first round behavioral, then technical. And then like on the phone, they started screening me with like technical questions, and I'm like, oh wow. And then good thing like I had prepped like the week before, so I still remembered some of those items. And then afterwards got called on site with 3 different engineers from 3 different teams. And like the first one was technical, and it was like what you expect, which was like coding on a whiteboard. And what I would say to that is definitely like speak out loud on like what you're doing, because you don't want to be there like silent trying to work through it. They're definitely expecting you to say out loud what your thought process is, how you're going to approach the issue, and maybe if you get stuck they can like help you out. But that's like speaking out loud is definitely a big thing to do when you're doing that. And then I would also say to go through, at least for me, like I was like a really nervous person when going through interviews. So I would definitely recommend getting a friend to help you out like the day before or a few days before, and like just asking you questions from your resume, like to describe your projects. Because like once you get in that interview room, it's like a totally different atmosphere. You're super nervous. I think at one point I was so nervous that if they had asked me for my name, I would have just paused and like, I don't know. So I would definitely recommend preparing like a few days right before. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah,
I'll add a little to that. So I haven't been in a technical interview, just by the nature of like my work and what I learned and studied. But funny enough, I have been on the opposite side of that, where I have helped my manager conduct interviews for interns. And what you're saying, Liz, is like so true. You need to balance out both the technical and the behavioral. At the end of the day, the person interviewing you wants to get to know you. Yes, the technical aspect is very important, but the way I see it and the way that my manager saw it too is that those skills can be learned and developed, but we want to get to know who you are as a person. So just keep that in mind.
That's great advice. I'm glad that we have someone who's helped out with that interview process because it gives a lot of insight. And I think a lot of people get nervous, right? And feel a lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, I also, at least personally, that company's trying to get to know you. And it's also important for you to remember that you're trying to get to know them. So come with questions. I think that's one big pointer that I have personally for my interview experiences as well. So, and then moving forward from that, I noticed that you all were involved with Conexion, right, with Cisco. And I want to hear a little bit more about that. How did that get started? I actually did some research on my own through their website and noticed that there's like a lot of different communities and groups, and Cisco is part of that as well. So, if anyone has insight, Veronica.
Thank you, Anna, for bringing that up, because I would have never met Alex or Liz if I weren't a part of a community inside of Cisco that we call Conexion. So if ERO means anything to you guys, it means for us our employee resource organizations. And there's tons of EROs inside of Cisco. We have an ERO that's called Connected Black Professionals. We've got one dedicated to veterans. We've got one dedicated to BTQ, there's so many different EROs, and our ERO for the Latino professionals inside of Cisco is called Conexion, and our charter is to really help drive more diversity inside of Cisco, whether it's on the technical, on the sales, or on the operation side. We have more than 1,200 members from all over the United States that are on board with helping us really increase the percentage of Latinos that are working, one, in the tech industry, and two, with Cisco. Our pillars are focused on professional development, like how can we help, Liz or Alex improve their certifications or get more experience on the technical side. We'll send them to this conference. We'll go and make sure that they get a paid certification in this specific Python area. Or maybe we focus on, we are part of organizations called high tech. High tech for us means Hispanic Information Technology Executive Committee. So, Cisco also is a big proponent of getting Hispanics into executive level roles. Our other pillar is based on talent pipeline. Like, are we getting the right kind of talent from our diverse HCIs, our Hispanic serving institutions? Are we getting enough representation there? And then last, we have community development, which is obviously something that's very close to everybody's heart, is how we help the community understand more about being in tech, being a woman in tech, and being a Latino in tech, right? We do global programs, not just for for the universities, like things that we're doing today, but we do them for the younger generation. Remember that in high school, there's plenty of ladies going through tech programs, going to tech schools, tech tracks in their high school. And what we want to do is we really want to empower them. And so we do a yearly Girls Power Tech Day. And during our Girls Power Tech Day, we bring in a lot of our high school ladies into our offices so that they can experience what it's like to be an engineer or what it's like to be in tech. So, Conexion allows us to have that flexibility and to do all of these great things for the community. And that is not our job, right? That's just what we do. That's our moonlighting experience. That's what we do at night. Our job is something completely different. But because Cisco is such a big proponent on having that diversity culture, we have the flexibility to be a part of these groups.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I don't know about maybe how you all grew up, right, in your communities, but at least personally, being really the first one in my family to pursue a tech-related degree, and then having parents who immigrated to the US, and then experiencing my first internship at a big company last summer. That was really different, and I didn't understand really even like maybe the etiquette, right, of like, how do I connect with my manager? Like, how open can I be with my manager? Because I guess at least the social norms are a little bit more different in the Hispanic community, and then being somewhere where that's not the majority, right? How do I cultivate these professional relationships? So I think it's really important to have those type of mentors. And here in San Antonio, it's a little bit more easier. There's a larger Hispanic population. But then if I want to branch out and move outside of Texas, like, what can I expect, right? So I think it's really important to have those mentors and have maybe seniors help with juniors or entry-level students, right, new grads. So I think that's great. It's awesome.
I'd like to add a little more to what Veronica was saying about the Conexion group. So I was looking for that sort of community, so I'm a little bit more on me. I'm from Nogales, Arizona, so small little US-Mexico border town, 99% Hispanic, that shift happened when I went to college, and I'm like, okay, there's significantly less Latinos out here. When it went to Cisco, I was like, okay, also less Latinos. The first thing I did was like, where are the Latinos at, And I went to look for something like Conexion, found them. And even though I hadn't been at the company very long, it was really easy to step in and say, hey, I want to help out. I want to get to know people. And that's sort of where I started making these amazing connections. with ladies like Liz, Veronica, and what's really nice is that usually they have like quarterly like lunch meetups, which is nice. There's some social events that help out. The aspect that I really like is that I could volunteer pretty quickly and early on. So in some cases, I have like hosted students from high school in the area. So I'm based in San Jose. So I was able to host a couple ladies who came in and wanted to see, okay, what does a day in the life of a business analyst look like? And it's a good way to give back, but also just to get involved and, you know, stick with the Latino community. So I encourage you all to, whether it's at Cisco or anywhere else, really just get involved in those types of communities.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's even just important to expose these students to that, right? Because growing up, I didn't even know that computer science existed. You know, like what is computer science? Or my parents don't have that knowledge. So if I can find mentors or a community that do know about that, then I can foster and cultivate like my career, right? And have that career development. So that's awesome. That's great. And I think we have about 7 minutes left. But is there any, I don't know if there's any more questions on the YouTube chat. Looks like we haven't gotten any new ones. Anything else that, Liz, do you want to add about maybe like your community? I know that you're in North Carolina and we touched on that a little bit earlier. And I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So touch on what was it? What was the question?
The last closing thoughts.
Oh, last closing thoughts. Okay. I would definitely take advantage of anything that involves like mentorship, because I feel like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of some of these like mentor programs that I went through, because similar to what you mentioned, where like I'm actually like the first person to graduate from college in my family, so it was like nobody really knew. Even like just trying to go through like the financial aid applications, like nobody really knew what to do. And so I would have to go. I like in high school, I was part of a program called Mi Casa that was from UNCW, or the University of Wilmington, and they helped out like high school students with learning about, you know, the SATs, ACTs, providing all of that help, filling out like financial aid forms. So I was part of that, and it was great because like it definitely helped me get to college, and navigating through all like the forms that I had to do, and navigating through all of the steps I had to take. And then when I went to college, it was like, okay, what now? Like, what's the next step? And I was part of this program called TRIO SSS, or Student Service Support, I think it stands for. And it was specifically for students who were like first generation college students. And similarly, you know, like they helped me navigate through going through, you know, like what's the curriculum or what are the classes, or what are the advisors to go to for these classes, or you know, programs to help me out, like workshops, financial workshops, especially with all like tuition costs and whatnot. So they were definitely a huge help for that. So yeah, so my final point for this is like definitely take advantage of every mentorship program that you can. It will definitely help you out, especially if like you come from like a background where your parents or like people around you might not, you know some of these areas that well. It definitely helps out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for those thoughts. And here with ACM, we actually do like an hour of code program with USAA. So we partner up with them and go to different elementary schools and teach them about coding. So I'm really glad that we were able to have like this partnership with Cisco, and whatever opens up. I know there's some networking here in San Antonio, right? So we're definitely open to new opportunities and new activities, and just being able to reach out to different communities. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're really appreciative, and a big shout out to both your team, Anna and Zach, for helping us, you know, get this done and rolling and streaming. I want to send a big shout out to both, you know, Liz and Alex. They don't do this on a regular basis, so this is me really pushing them into their comfort zone, right? Like I can get up and talk to you guys because because I'm like, oh, you know, I've been through this. But you know, this is definitely outside of their comfort zone of what, you know, of coming into a stream like this. And you know, Alex is building out her own, I guess it's like a Latina in tech blog, and I love it. I don't know if you know, we'll make sure to share it with the team. But we need more of this communication. We need to communicate what we're doing and how we're passionate about with others. You know, I tell people the highlight of my day is introducing FaceTime to my mom. So this is my mom, and you know, she has her FaceTime working now, but you know, I get to speak to her cheek. This is her cheek that I speak to every day. Because you know, in this time I can't go and see her, right? So embrace the moment that you're in, embrace the passions that you have, and continue to you know, talk to you know, your family and your friends about, you know, how you can eventually change the world through tech.
Yeah, thanks so much. We definitely appreciate Alex and Liz coming on, and Veronica obviously here. But yeah, we definitely will keep in touch, and I'll post a lot of the links and collect that and post it on either our YouTube or our Slack channel, maybe both. And that way we'll have those resources and future references.
Great.
Thanks so much, girls, ladies.
No problem. No problem. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
See ya.